Hey, what's up guys, OSG here, and it's a special moment in OSG history as today I will be doing my first ever Amstrad video. The strange thing about this is that over the last 2 years I've probably spent more time watching and chatting about Amstrad games with the Amstrad community than any other system. The thing is that the Amstrad has never been my favourite system. I own one, but it holds no nostalgia factor for me. Other than one, yes, only one of my mates had one of these back when we were younger. As I'm no expert, I have called upon a couple of diehard Amstrad fanboy streamers to help me compile this list, and that was Xyphoe and Novabug, both of whose channel links are in the description. Anyway, they give me a bunch of games to check out and I added a few of my own, and then whittled them down to 20 that I think are great conversions for the system. Okay, so let's take a look at the best Amstrad CPC arcade ports ever made. Kicking us off in 20th place we have Space Harrier. This one was a late ad for me, and at first I thought, what is this? But apparently the wireframe graphics were used to get the game to be faster, and man did they succeed in that. The music leaves a lot to be desired, but if you listen really carefully you can just about make out that soundtrack what we loved so much from the arcade. Graphics aside, this plays great, and apart from sometimes not being able to make out the enemy bullets, still it's a solid port. 19th place is taken by Arkanoid. Arkanoid was ported to a whole host of home systems and basically they all did good jobs. The colour on this version is great and the ball physics is as it should be. Sometimes the paddle moves a little fast, but once you get used to it it's a nice little arcade port. Is it the best 8-bit version? Well, I'll let you decide, but they're all pretty close. P47 is in the 18th position. Okay, so I've just gone with a simple name of P47 as no one actually knows what this game is called, even the developers. This was a game that I loved in the arcade and on the Amiga. The Amstrad version is really quite good. To be honest, I didn't think it would be, but apart from the sound it does everything right and is a really entertaining part of the arcade. In 17th place we have the bane of my life, Rainbow Islands. I actually tried my hardest to not put this game in this video. As I've said before, I don't like it, but as far as arcade ports go, this version is on par with the other system in terms of gameplay. There is something that always bothers me about the Amstrad version, and that's the music, which to me sounds out of tune. The weird thing is that the Amstrad community actually love the music on this. 16th place is taken by Gryzor, or Contra as most people know it now. This is one of my favourite games on the Amstrad and I always request it to be played in streams. The graphics and gameplay are spot on and very like the arcade, and it has great colour and sound. The problem with this game, and the reason it's not right at the top, is the flip screen scrolling, which kills it a bit. If this had just scrolled it would have been a totally awesome part of the arcade. Double Dragon 128K is in 15th position. Okay, so a lot of you will now be saying, wasn't Double Dragon crap on all the 8-bit home ports? And yeah, it was, but the Amstrad got 2 versions of the game. And this one, although looking as rough as a badger's arse, does everything right in the gameplay department. Well, as right as a one-button system could do. Seriously, don't judge this game on looks. It's the one I played all the way through while making this, and definitely the best 8-bit micro version of the game. In 14th place we have Bomb Jack. I've said it over and over how much I love Bomb Jack on the arcade. It's a really simple game that has the best frantic gameplay ever. The Amstrad version replicates the arcade game pretty good in its own 8-bit style with good colours. The sound is not to my liking, but it's actually one of Xyphoe's favourite bits of the game. There is a problem with this game though, and many people won't have noticed it. But as I've played Bomb Jack to death, the problem is the aspect ratio and how tight it is at the top of the screen, making it harder to hover past the enemies up there, like you would in the arcade. Otherwise, it's a great port. 13th place is taken by Bobble for CPC. Bobble was and always will be a timeless arcade classic. The music alone transports me back to simpler times in my life. We on the C64 were treated to a great home port, but unfortunately the Amstrad owners were not and got a really slow, horrible playing game. Luckily for them, the game was remade in 2011 and is way better and worthy of the name Bobble, but I still think that the C64 version is better. Ikari Warriors is in 12th position. This game has been on every list so far, and the Amstrad version is considered by many to be the best 8-bit port of the game. First though, I said in the C64 video that version didn't have the toggle button, but I have been told since that it actually does, so that was my mistake. This version does have the toggle button, and I like it a lot. There's no music, but the sound effects are nice, and even though I love the C64 version, I have to admit that this looks way closer to the arcade. In 11th place we have Commando, another game we have seen over and over in these videos, and another really solid part of the game. This version has great colours, but I think it's let down a little bit by the textureless ground, but that doesn't take away anything from the gameplay, which I think is just as fast and fun as the other versions. The music is okay, although the SID will always be my favourite. 10th place is taken by Smash TV. First time we have seen Smash TV on these lists, and what we get here is a super smooth, really fast home version of the game. Yeah, we all know the controls were going to be different, with the arcade having the 2 joystick control, but it's handled really well and is a lot of fun to play. This is one of my choices and wasn't mentioned by the other Amstrad guys, so I'll be interested to see what they think of this game and the position I put it in. Mr. Heli is in 9th position. I have to admit that I never actually played Mr. Heli in the arcades, but have done on MAME, so this game holds no nostalgia factor for me. However, the Amstrad version is an awesome arcade port with great looking graphics and colour. It also has the arcade soundtrack, which is nice on the ears. All in all, it's a great little shoot 'em up that I would have been more than happy to play as a kid if I had an Amstrad. In 8th place we have Robocop. Okay, so before we get any more controversial comments stating that this isn't an arcade port, let me just state that in the present day when we have everything at our fingertips data wise, it's easy to say that this wasn't what it was back then. Truth is, back then when I was 11-year-old, this was an arcade port, no matter what wiki etc says now. So whether it is or whether it is not an arcade port, it is on this list for a true nostalgia feel, because that's what this channel is all about. This version is a great game. Whilst not as being as good as the other 8-bit versions, it's certainly worth a place on this list. 7th place is taken by R-Type 128K. R-Type is one of my favourite shoot 'em ups ever made, and I liked it on all of the systems, apart from one, and that was the Amstrad. The original Amstrad was a specky port, but it wasn't just a specky port, it was a specky port done really badly. The specky game, although basic, was still one of the best Spectrum games ever made, but the Amstrad version was a steaming pile of manure. Fast forward 25 years until 2012 and R-Type 128K remake was released, and boy did they get this one right. Everything was redone and made the way it should have been, and Amstrad owners could finally say that they had a good version of R-Type on their system. Scramble is in 6th position. This is a really early arcade game that I actually played first on the Vex tracks. There have been loads of clones and remakes of this game on the home ports, but for me the Amstrad remake is the closest to the arcade I've ever seen. If you didn't know better, you would actually think you were playing the real thing. They have even included the arcade boot up sequence, which is a really nice touch. In 5th place we have Operation Wolf. The debate will go on and on which one is the best between the Amstrad, the C64 and the Specky, and I think, truth be known, the answer is heavily lies with nostalgia, meaning that we will never ever really come to a decision. The Amstrad version is as fast as the other with nice colour. Gameplay wise it's very similar to the arcade and defo worth a play if you're an Amstrad owner. Also, apparently there's a light gun version of this game which would have been awesome. 4th place is taken by Alcon 2020. Alcon was also known as Slap Fight in the arcade. It is by my favourite shoot 'em up developer Toplan, so obvious that I played a lot of this back in the arcades and on my C64, which was a great port. The Amstrad original version was nothing to write home about, but just last year a new version was released and it's really good, and now has probably took the award for the best top-down shooter on the system. Renegade is in 3rd position. Again, a game we have seen in all the 8-bit videos, and again, a game that many people say is superior on the Amstrad. Looks wise, it's the best version. The gameplay isn't bad either, but the lack of joystick, well, semi-lack of joystick support might put a lot of people off, but really, persevere and the control method turns out to be its true forte, making this handle just like the arcade. In second place we have Chase HQ. This is the most mentioned game in all the Amstrad streams I go on. It's mostly mentioned along with the fact that the C64 version was so dire. Okay, so yeah, we did get a crappy version on the C64, and yeah, the Amstrad blows the C64 away. This is one of those games that needs to be played to fully appreciate though, as it looks a bit slow and tedious sometimes on their videos, but really it is very entertaining to play. And now, in first place we have Donkey Kong. When I originally started making this list, I never even considered this game, but after speaking with Xyphoe I fired it up and oh my god, this is one great arcade port. I play the arcade game a lot and watch a lot of pro players playing it for tips, and the Amstrad has loads of things from the arcade right. There are some issues though, like Mario's hang time, and also some of the enemy positions are just slightly off. One thing I think is missing is getting the Donkey Kong points though, as that is a big part of getting high scores on this game. Okay, that's it for my first ever Amstrad video. It ties in nicely with something I have planned for a future video about the rivalry between the C64, Specky and Amstrad. Please let me know in the comments below what your favourite Amstrad arcade ports were, and also if you would like me to cover more on this system. On that note, if you do like the system, be sure to check out Xyphoe and Novabug's channels, as you will find diddly squat on my channel about it up to now. Be sure to drop this video a like and subscribe to my channel for more great retro content. Till next time, this is OSG signing out.